1 year after violent clashes broke out between two communities, the Kukis and the Meiteis in Manipur on 3rd of May 2023, the state is still grappling with a divided social fabric and a volatile law and order situation. Over 200 people have lost their lives, 60,000 have been displaced, more than 2,000 have been injured, and vigilante groups are running around in the state taking law and order into their hands. Another problem is the circulation of the looted weapons. More than 60% of those weapons are still in circulation and are openly available in black market. This is what we are discussing today in this episode of Political Edda as to how things have changed in Manipur in the last 1 year. To discuss this, we have with us our political editor, Mr. DK Singh, and special correspondent Sourav Barman, who had been on the ground reporting from there even during elections. So, DK, first I would like to ask you about the situation in Manipur and how, despite so much violence and sporadic incidents that have been taking place on the ground, it didn't become an election issue at all. Nobody is talking about it anymore. It has just fallen off the headlines.
Well, you do not expect the ruling BJP to talk about it, of course. I mean, no party talks about its own failures or its government's failures. So, of course, BJP will not talk. It's the opposition which you should have expected to talk about this and make it an election issue. But as we have seen, the way the opposition has been acting for the last 10 years at least, it's like, their issues are also seasonal. So, in one, parliament session, they will have one issue, another session, another issue, another session, another issue. They forget what the last issue was. And that has been the trend. Here in case of Manipur also, we saw what they did in the first parliament session, and then again in the next session also, but gradually we have seen their reactions have been limited to tweets or probably Facebook posts or some, just references to it in their speeches, that's about it. There's no sustained pressure on the government, probably also because maybe the opposition is not sure about its electoral or its potential electoral impact or implications, because we saw what happened in Mizoram and we had elections in Mizoram, and you had Zoramthanga making a huge deal out of it, that how he was kind of taking care of the refugees coming from Manipur and other refugees also. He took on the center over this, he made a huge issue out of this and finally lost the election. Even the Congress's vote share actually went down drastically by about 19%. So if that was the electoral impact in the neighboring state, really what will happen outside? So that could be just my conjecture, because there is no reason why the opposition party should not be raising it. But they are probably wrong. If they are thinking that country is not looking at Manipur, they are wrong. Because I was traveling in Kerala, I was traveling in Tamil Nadu. People are asking what Manipur even now. They are very curious. Probably they are not updated about what's happening right now, because nobody is talking about it except some media channels like us. Everybody seems to have forgotten. But ultimately, it's the opposition's job to corner the government on this issue, or to hold the government accountable. And somehow, as we see, opposition seems to have forgotten about it.
Absolutely. Like you said, that we have been covering the Manipur issue since the beginning, and Sourav, in fact, you were there to cover the elections and the polling. So could you tell our viewers about what the situation is on the ground as of now, because we have been hearing about these sporadic incidents of violence that have been taking place, including the recent one in which 2 CRPF personnel were killed, and this recent incident about 11 of the armed miscreants who were released by the army, who were detained with arms. They were in uniform, but they had to be released because the Meiteis basically forced them to do that. So these incidents we keep hearing now and then. What is the situation on the ground?
Right. So I was there on the run up to the elections. So these incidents of violence do not really surprise me, because what I saw is a state which is completely divided along ethnic lines.
Right.
So the Meiteis and the Kukis do not see eye to eye anymore on any issue. And when I was there, Manipur was going to vote in a couple of days, but there were no visible signs of campaigning that we see elsewhere in other states, and there are reasons for that. So in both sides there are very influential pressure groups. In the case of Meiteis, so there is this organization called Harambai Tengol. So they fashion themselves as this revivalist group.
Yeah.
So they put out diktats that candidates of parties cannot really campaign, they cannot put up posters anywhere, they cannot go for big rallies. So naturally, candidates in Inner Manipur, there are two constituencies in Manipur, one Inner Manipur and Outer Manipur. So in Inner Manipur, so there were two candidates, majorly two candidates. The contest will essentially be between these two candidates, one from the Congress, Bimal Akoijam, he's a JNU professor, and one sitting minister, Basant Singh, has been fielded by the BJP. So both the candidates resorted to very small gatherings, corner meetings or neighborhood meetings, sort of campaigning. And even in the hills, both the parties, the Congress and the NPF, so the BJP did not field any candidate in the hills. Both
Hills,
the parties,
you mean the Kuki
dominated, Kuki
yes.
and Naga dominated.
Right.
Both Kuki and Naga dominated hills, the hill districts. So there is the Outer Manipur constituency covers the hills. So there were Kuki pressure groups who did not allow any Kuki to contest the elections.
Right.
So both the Congress and the Naga People's Front, which was backed by the BJP, both the parties fielded Naga candidates. Even in the hills, there were no signs of campaigning, as I said, like in the valley.
Right.
And across the state, there are signs of divide, be it in Imphal, be it in Churachandpur or even More. So the population is entirely transferred. So there you will not find any Meitei in the hills,
right.
and you will not find any Kuki in the valley,
right.
which was not the case.
Right. So just for our viewers, when you talk about Manipur, it is surrounded by 9 hills, and while the valley is in the middle, it is surrounded by the Kuki and Naga population, Nagas primarily being in the north and
right.
Kukis in the southern part of the hill. And also a fact is that while 90% of the land share is with the people in the hills, only 10% is with the Meiteis in the valley, but it is the most developed part of Manipur where all the universities, hospitals and the most businesses run. So that is the geography of Manipur. So which is why now you are saying that it is completely divided. Meiteis are in the valley while the Kukis have all gone back to the hills.
Yeah.
Right.
For example, so there is this college, Churachandpur College, which is a government affiliated college. So we were there as part of our coverage. So we found that the principal told us that they cannot even send papers to university in Imphal.
Right.
So they have to take help of choppers.
Right.
So which is unimaginable in other states.
A similar thing was happening with the FIRs that were registered in different districts. So the 0 FIRs, that is FIR which does not mention the jurisdiction, were registered in different parts of Manipur, where basically people complaining that Kukis, if they wanted to get an FIR registered in the valley, they couldn't do that. So they got it registered in the hills, but then it ultimately has to be transferred to the respective jurisdiction, that is the police station. So they were not able to send FIRs across places because Mira Paibis, that is the women folk who are guarding these borders, Churachandpur and Imphal borders, they would just stop the cars to take out the files and burn them. So which is why even the like Sourav pointed out, the transportation of relevant documents became such an issue, and that's why these cases are right now lingering. Like in Imphal East District, there are about 2,000 0 FIRs that are still pending, and no investigation has started because it can't reach the respective police station.
Ananya, you're sort of an expert on Manipur for us since last year. For the last 1 year, I can't even count how many visits you have made to Manipur. So before we start taking the viewers' question, I just want to know from you, how is it on the ground that the security forces are not able to contain these elements?
See, the major challenge that the security forces are right now facing is the weapons. That's a major issue. So according to data that is available with us, almost 6,000 weapons, which includes AK-47s, INSAS rifles, light machine guns, pistols, SLRs, all these sophisticated weapons are actually in the hands of public, and these are not trained to fire or use these weapons. So the major issue is right now that the police, in fact when we speak to security officials, is that we are unable to recover these weapons. And just imagine if an AK-47 is in the hand of a person who doesn't even know how to fire, if he pulls the trigger, then the repercussion and what we are seeing on the ground, that these incidents of violence that we see are a result of these weapons being in circulation. Also, black marketing of these weapons have begun. So the problem here is that the local support is not with the police. The local support is with these, what you rightly mentioned in the beginning, these groups, these armed groups that have come up. In the valley, you named Arambai Bengal, which is a very relevant group like what Sourav mentioned. So people now support these armed groups. They are not giving police intelligence about any sort of weapons. Like whenever there is a raid, there'll be a group of people who will stop the police and the security forces from operating in that village. Plus, intelligence comes from where? It comes from people. So if the people are not giving any intelligence to the police as to where these weapons are, they are unable to really operate or function. So these combing operations or these operations that they carry out to recover these weapons are hitting a dead end. Secondly, the problem here is that the Arambai Bengal, which basically had only 7,000 member till about March last year, is now 50,000 strong. So they have about 50,000 people who have joined them as volunteers.
It's a huge militia.
It's become a very big, like, that group has become very big in the valley, and they are openly parading. We've seen videos, you've all seen videos, that they're openly parading with arms in their hands, and these are all arms that are looted from the
They
police.
asked the MLAs to come to a fort and all the MLAs had to go.
And not just that, sir, even in Imphal, if you go around the streets of Imphal, you will see many properties where 80 is scribbled in those properties. Essentially, the Arambai has taken over those properties, or they are giving protection, quote unquote, protection those properties and charging money from the traders or even the owners of maybe that establishment.
In fact, Sourav had done an excellent story on this, and we'll be sharing a link of the same, that how these properties are taken over by 80s and money is being extorted from people. So in the valley, what security officials tell us, that extortion was a thing of the past, and these people are now extorting money from the locals, businessmen, school owners, etc. People of the Arambai Bengal, they are extorting money from these businessmen, saying that we are there to protect you from the Kuki militia, from the Kuki insurgents. So you have to pay us, and if you don't have the money, then you join our rank, because you are the ones who have to save your community. So this fear is being created in the minds of the locals there by this group, saying that you have to join us or you give us money. So extortion is very rampant in the valley, not just in the valley, also in the hills, by these groups, the Kuki groups, which are under the SU agreement, which is the suspension of operation agreement. In fact, there are intel reports also that these people come out of their camps and extort money from people, because they are in the hills. So the highways are essential that link the hills to the valley. So these people are extorting money on highways, etc. So there are intel inputs about that as well. But the extortion is more rampant in the valley, since all the business is concentrated in the valley. That is another thing. Recruitment is an issue that is happening, and this is becoming a very big challenge for the security forces, because not many people come out also to report these cases of extortion. Pressure from people is also another. Like I mentioned, 11 people who were armed, and these are people from the Arambai Bengal, 11 of them miscreants who were armed with sophisticated weapons, and mostly these were weapons, police service weapons, were actually detained by the army, but then a group of women forced them to release these people. So this is, when there is no local support, it becomes very difficult for any sort of police or security force to operate, because the people are not with them.
There is something very interesting. So we also interviewed the Congress candidate, Mr. Akwejam.
And Akwejam, by the way, he has been coming here for our shows.
Yeah. So he pointed out, there is this, so the state is supposed to have monopoly over violence.
Right.
So, so that thing has completely vanished in Manipur, and these groups enjoy a lot of social legitimacy because violence has been privatized, quote unquote. That's the term that he used. That's what has happened in Manipur. So even in the hills, even in places like More and Churachandpur, localities where Meiteis used to stay have been completely razed to the ground, have been completely leveled. There are no signs that Meiteis used to stay there.
Right, right.
So that has also happened.
Let's take some questions from our viewers now.
Yes, I'll be taking some questions from the viewers. One question we have from a viewer, DK, why is the government silent on this violence? And I think by government they mean central government. Why are they silent on this issue, and why the government of India has not taken any action against the sitting CM?
You don't see any response from the government. First, because these are election times and government won't be, the ruling party or the government won't be saying or doing things which would actually bring this entire issue back onto the political center stage, where it is not as it is. Because as we talked, even opposition is not talking about it. Opposition has forgotten about it almost. So why should the ruling party rake it up by taking any action? Secondly, you are talking about why no action has been taken against Biren Singh. As simple as that. BJP does not fail. There may be any allegations against them. Those allegations have to be just dismissed, because BJP does nothing wrong in politics, nothing wrong in governance, nothing wrong in, when it comes to even propriety or whatever you talk. BJP can't be wrong. So BJP can't be wrong in Manipur either. That has been an approach. That has been the approach we have been seeing for the last 10 years. On other issues, fine, they brazen it out. But in Manipur, this approach is really hurting. They have to understand it's a matter of national security. And you cannot really bring your political consideration in dealing with issues challenging your national security. Unfortunately, that's what is happening. Biren Singh again, you cannot sack him, you cannot remove him, because it will show your failure. It will show that your government has failed, BJP government has failed. That you do not want to show, and that's why you let the crisis persist. There is a huge issue with this approach, because it's not a political issue, it's a national security issue, but unfortunately that's what it is.
In fact, even in the Ministry of Home Affairs, when we used to speak to officials as to, why is this happening, that is the response that we got, that we are just waiting it out, waiting for the situation to fizzle out. In fact, a lot of security personnel officials were getting extremely upset with the government's approach in Manipur, saying that they are not doing anything. It is us who are at the forefront, fighting with the locals, ensuring that no casualties happen, but no action, tangible action is being actually taken by the government.
If you look at the Prime Minister's trip, I mean, entire campaign trail, and every day he's going everywhere. Last, say since March 16th, when the election dates were announced, he has addressed at least 70 to 80 rallies so far. He has still not gone to Manipur. Everybody is talking why the Prime Minister is not going. And then you hear this statement from the Prime Minister saying that, there is marked improvement. And he is in fact crediting the center, crediting the state government for this. That I thought was pretty disappointing, because this show of complacency, this shows complacency in fact, that you don't really bother. Everything has to be part of a larger narrative that nothing is going wrong. You don't expect the government to adopt this approach when it comes to what is happening in Manipur.
Until date, we have no clarity on whether the center actually imposed Article 355
Right,
in
that's
Manipur.
another issue.
So if you do that, you essentially take over law and order,
Right.
which is one step away from president's rule.
Right.
So there is no clarity till
Although
date.
the center has sent one security advisor from
Right.
the center, and he's
Who's
the
heading
one.
the unified command.
Yes, who's heading the unified command, and he's overseeing all the operations. Everybody's
What is
reporting.
baffling is, what is intriguing, I would say, is that you have a Prime Minister who is so popular across the country. Somehow, I don't know why he has decided not to visit Manipur. At least go there, appeal for peace, talk to the people there, at least be seen there with the people, that I am there with you.
Right.
It's just intriguing why the Prime Minister should not go there.
And that sentiment is very much there on the streets. People ask, where is the Prime Minister? Why has he not visited us even once?
Right.
So across hills and valley.
That's why those posters also came up where that said PM missing. There's another question that Ashwini Nair has sent us. It says, how much has the action on drug trade got to do with the conflict? The CM tweeted clips of destruction of poppy cultivation and alternative livelihood provided. How much of it is true on the ground? So, as far as poppy cultivation is concerned, it is very much a reality in Manipur because most of the poppy is cultivated on the hillside where the Kukis and the Nagas reside. Now, the problem with poppy cultivation and why it can't be contained is that there are raids that happen that the NCB and other police departments along with civil society groups, NGOs, they carry out. But the problem here is that there is no accountability, since the land that on which the poppy cultivation is carried out is not demarcated or given to someone. Like, it is not someone that, I own this land, so the poppy cultivation is being done on that, so I'll be held accountable for that. So there are no, the official records for lands are missing, are absent in Manipur, which is why officials say that it is difficult to really pinpoint as to the land where the cultivation is happening belongs to XX person. So the convictions, the arrests, etc. are extremely low. In fact, officials told us that in the last, say, 3 to 4 years, very minimal arrests have happened as far as growth of poppy cultivation is concerned. There are arrests that happened for the transportation of drugs of this poppy or the finished products. So these finished products, basically after poppy is cultivated in these hilly areas, there are small units that are there in Manipur in the hillsides where it is converted into a finished product and which is then transported. And that is when the police cracks down on these trucks, etc., transporting this finished products, and that's where the arrests happened. But the root of it, who is growing this poppy, the arrests don't happen. Secondly, why it is very popular among people in Manipur is that cultivation of poppy is a very quick process. It's just 3 months. So when you cultivate that poppy, it gives you very good returns and the harvest is very quick. So everybody gets into that business. I mean, that's what officials tell us, that most people, including students, etc., who want to earn quick bucks, they get into cultivation of these poppy, etc. Another issue is of poppy cultivation is also that because of the terrain, no bulldozers or machines, etc., can go to destroy those poppy fields. It has to be done manually, so it's also a very tedious process. So which is why although apparently there are acres of land where poppy cultivation is, and they've seen it through drones and they have mapped it, there is no way actually to go and destroy all this cultivation. And as I said, it's a very quick process. In 3 months, one batch is already out. So that is the real issue.
So
Sourav?
just want to make a couple of points about poppy cultivation. Why that happens? Why Manipur is? The hills of Manipur has, as you pointed out, where poppy is cultivated to such a large extent. It is also because of Manipur's geographical position.
Absolutely, Golden Triangle.
Golden Triangle,
yes.
So close to Thailand, Laos, and that Myanmar corridor.
Yes.
Right next to that, actually. So, secondly, the drug economy. The drug economy is very symbiotic in nature. You cannot really blame one community, because when it comes to poppy cultivation, the Kukis are involved, the Meiteis are involved, other communities are involved. In a place like More, there are allegations that, so in More is basically a border post, outpost very close to the Myanmar border, where there is a large presence of the Tamil community. So there are allegations that even they are involved in the trade of drugs. Thirdly, on the question of how much drugs or the war against drugs of Mr. Biren Singh has played a role in triggering this unrest or crisis, the fact is, his so-called war on drugs goes back many years. He started that, he announced that he is going to go against drugs in a major way right after he took charge in 2018.
Yeah, this is the previous.
So he's been doing that, and it's been almost 5 years after he actually announced this entire crisis erupted.
Right.
So you cannot really draw a linear line between what he announced then and what is happening now.
The problem also is, as Chief Minister, you do not identify a community with the drug trade.
Right.
And for the Chief Minister, it's not proper.
Right. So, like Sourav pointed out, that it's not just one community. Kukis and Nagas are in the hills, but they say that for the transportation of drugs, it's mostly Meiteis, because they are the ones owning the business. So it's not like one community is doing it single-handedly. So we're running out of time, but we'll take one last question. What is the way forward? Can Manipur survive as a single state, or is a split inevitable?
When we talk about way forward, the first thing is to acknowledge that there is a crisis. And it's not a political crisis, it has become a huge national security crisis. Don't be in denial mode. Don't look the other way and think that nothing is happening in Manipur. That's what we are witnessing on the part of the government right now. Don't be in denial mode. Just decide that you have to change the things on the ground, or you have to change everything in Manipur now, because whatever you have done so far is not working. First, acknowledgement. Second is, you will have to sack the Chief Minister, because he may be competent, he may be agreeing to do whatever you have been asking him to. As Amit Shah said in Lok Sabha that we asked him to change the DGP, he changed it. We asked him to change the CS, Chief Secretary, he changed it. He is cooperating with us. But that cooperation is not really giving you any result. I mean, can you think of a Chief Minister who has not been to Chora Chandpur even once, because that's 30% of the population, Kukis. And you have not been among them, you are not able to go there. You cannot have a Chief Minister of 70% population, or probably less than that, because even the Nagas, I don't know how popular or unpopular he is, but this is how he has been acting. He has failed to contain the situation, and things are getting out of hand. So you have to sack him. Now, in the initial few months, probably you could have replaced him with somebody else. But now things have gone out of hands, where you have militias, you have insurgent groups on both sides. In fact, they are taking control of the law in their hands. First of all, you have to ensure that there is rule of law. You have to enforce it. Now, insurgent groups and militia, they cannot be running the legal administration there. Right. They have become de facto administrators there.
Like most of people say that they're the parallel government now.
For that to happen, you have to have a chief minister or the authority who will have no truck with any of these groups in any manner possible. Now, right now, what we are seeing is that militia is running. Its writ is running in Manipur. It can call MLAs, and all MLAs, I mean, all the Meiteis MLA, at least they have to go, and they are even, some of them are even abused. And you have to take all that. So where is the administration? Where is the rule of law? To do that, because as I said, you cannot replace the chief minister. That's we have crossed that stage. You have to go for president's rule. At least there will be semblance of, or not semblance, actually I should not be saying semblance. When you have the president's rule, at least the people on both sides will have the trust in the authorities that they have to follow their orders, that they are not aligned with anybody. No, sorry, not. I'm doing it again. So, when you have the president's rule, at least people have trust. It will not be like Meiteis have trust in one, Kukis have in another. At least you will have universal trust in the administration. And then only you can change, then only you can start the reconciliation process. But first of all, stop being in denial mode. It's not serving anybody, it's not serving Manipur, it's not serving India.
So, we were speaking with the security advisor, and he said that dialogue is very important, even between the two communities, to bridge that gap that has been created in the last 1 year, because Kukis have been pressing for a separate administration. Meiteis have been saying that you should suspend the suspension of operation agreement. So there have been various points of contention between the two communities, and they are refusing to come on the table to discuss the issue. So political dialogue is extremely important between the two communities to really find a long-term solution.
One committee was actually formed, but
yes,
that
by
never really
Mr.
worked.
Amit Shah. Yeah.
When a state wants to enforce its writ,
Right.
It does, it will. Invariably, but the state has to want it. But with a chief minister like Biren Singh, who is aligned with one community, at least who is seen as being biased, you can't do that. So that's the first thing you need to address.
Right. So despite these efforts, although limited by the state and central government, Manipur still remains a tinderbox. This is where it stands right now as far as the law and order situation is concerned. A political dialogue has not begun. The Prime Minister has still not visited Manipur even once, and the violence in the state continues. Thank you for being with us for this special episode on 1 year of Manipur conflict with our political editor DK Singh and special correspondent Sourav Barman. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.